Joining me now, Fox News strategic analyst, Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters. And Colonel, your title alone, strategic analyst, I want to focus on the strategic part, because as a strategic analyst, has Vladimir Putin, to use military terms, out-strategized, outflanked the Obama foreign policy?
Well, he also outflanked the George W. Bush foreign policy. Putin's brilliant. He's humiliated two U.S. presidents, and he looks forward to manipulating a third if he possibly can. And it's an illusion that all presidents of both parties come to office believing they can deal with Putin. Putin is absolutely brilliant. He's ruthless. He's not an honorable man. And he is our mortal enemy, our implacable enemy, not because we want him to be, but because he has chosen to be, because his Russia's interests, as he sees them, diverge completely from our own. He will try to use us, though, and he'd certainly like to keep borrowing our Air Force to do the job against ISIS, so he doesn't have to.
So tell me about the strategy of the fact that Vladimir Putin and Erdogan from Turkey have gotten together. They created the ceasefire in Syria. Where does that leave us, and Turkey being a member of NATO?
Well, it's not just Turkey and Russia having a rapprochement. The third player was Iran. And what we have seen, because of the utter neglect, the disinterest, the indecisiveness, the timidity of the Obama administration, is that we, the United States, has been driven out of the upper Middle East. Our NATO ally, Turkey, as you referenced, has turned away from us, perhaps decisively. Iran is now the dominant regional power. The new regional hegemon is Russia. And the only role left for us, which Russia is glad to see us play, is, again, taking care of ISIS for them so they don't have to in Iraq and in Syria. And when ISIS is finally beaten into the ground in a few years, when there's not much left but some ragtag holdouts, we will be asked to leave Iraq. We won't have a role in Syria. And we've just lost, and we've lost without even putting up a struggle. And it's gotten so bad, Tom, that even Bibi Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, has had to mend fences and go repeatedly to Moscow. Our enemies do not fear us. Our allies do not trust us, and we are in retreat around the globe.
So what happens from here? These sanctions, these last-minute, 11th hour, small potato sanctions, what do they do?
Well, it's another one of Obama's gestures. He loves rhetorical flourishes and empty gestures. So the actions today, which you correctly called, too little, too late, and they are. Look, I'm glad for any positive move, any sanctions toward Russia, but this was strictly tactical stuff, expelling the diplomats, sanctioning individuals. If you want to have a strategic effect, you go after Russia's weak point, which is the economy. And the sanctions the West has placed on Russia have hurt badly in tandem with lower oil prices. Russia needs oil at $80 a barrel to really make its budget work. And that and the lower oil prices and because of that and the sanctions, Russia's poverty rate has doubled in the last 2 years. Its GDP has fallen for two years in a row. Yeah. Putin wants a big military buildup. He can't afford it. So I want more sanctions, not less. If we lift sanctions now as purely a gesture of goodwill toward Vladimir Putin, he will build up his military while continuing to use ours cynically.
Look, this is a business network, and you're talking money, and that's exactly right. Yeah. That's what brought down the old Soviet Union, and
yes.
We could go back and do the same thing. He needs the money to build his military.
In the immortal words of the great American Marxist philosopher Cyndi Lauper, money changes everything.
It sure does. Colonel Ralph Peters, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thank you.
You bet.